Good morning, Year 6. It's our third week of home learning, and this is our first session of the week. Now, at the end of last week, we had a look at translation of shapes, and in Maths No Problem, we should be moving on to rotation and reflection. But because we're learning at home and the nature of those two objectives, I'm going to wait till we're back in school to teach them. It'll be a lot easier for me to demonstrate on a flip chart and a whiteboard, and it'll be a lot easier when you have your Maths No Problem workbooks and textbooks back. So we're going to move on now to the next chapter, which is about averages and the mean set of data. But before we start, as always, we're going to have a quick warm up, and following on from last week, we have some fractions of amounts. Before you ever go to today's questions, I'll just do a quick reminder, and I'm going to pick out a question 11 here, which is how do we work out 5/8 of 40? Very simply, we have got to find 1/8, and to find 1/8, you divide 40 by 8. I've started that off here. So 40 divided by 8 equals £5, remembering that I have to put in the pound sign because that is what it's asking us for. Now we found out 1/8 there, but we need to get the 5/8. So we simply multiply that £5 by 5, which is the 5/8, to get the answer of £25. Have a go at the questions. I'll press pause and I'll see you in 2 or 3 minutes. I hope you've had enough time now to complete those questions, so we'll move on to the answers and just tick to see which ones you've got right. Remember, each time that you need to put the units of measure, so along here you've got the pound sign, the centimetres, and the pound sign for all of these. Just one to recognise here, we've got the 13 miles, and that then makes the decimal number 6.5 miles. So let's move on to today's lesson. And to start with, this is our in focus. I want you to have a look at it, and I'm going to zoom in to the full screen so that we can see it a little bit easier. This picture shows how many pizza slices each child ate for lunch. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children, and then we've got the question, how much pizza is that per child? How can you give this answer, or how can you answer this question by giving just one number? Again, with an adult or anybody else that might be working alongside you, have a go at discussing this question. If you haven't got somebody alongside you, write it down, your thoughts on a piece of scrap paper, and I'll get back shortly. Right, let's have a look and see which ways we can give an average for the number of pizza slices eaten. But before we start, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this fella here, I think it's Elliot. I can't believe that he had 5 slices and the others had 2. I just wonder how many slices you'd have eaten if it had been your lunch. But anyway, that's another matter. Let's get on to teaching some maths. So we've got some methods now. We've got Lulu's first of all. Now what Lulu said is she's looked at the number of pizza slices eaten by all of the children. And she then shared them equally, took the total and shared them equally between all 5 children. So she worked out that there are 15 pizza slices altogether, and she shared them between all 5 children equally, and realised that once she'd done that, that each child would have 3 pizza slices each. So in effect, what she's done is she has divided 15 by 5 to get an average of 3. And we call this method the mean. I typed in there the mode. Let's just replace that. This is called the mean. It's where you add up the total altogether and divide by the number that there are. And this is the one we're going to focus on today. But before we do that, we're going to go on and have a look at different or 2 other ways that you can look at the average. Sam, on the other hand, has a different method. He said that there's one person that's eaten 5 slices, there's one person that's eaten 4 slices, and there are 3 children that have eaten 2 slices. So he's saying that the average number of slices eaten is 2. This method of working out the average, the most common number, is called the mode. The last one then is the method here by Holly. Now Holly has done something different. She's decided to put the children in order of the number of pizza slices they've eaten. So we've got the young man here with 2 pizza slices, and we've got the young man here with 5 pizza slices, and the other children ordered in terms of the number of pizza slices they've eaten. Then what Holly's done is she has said, well, the average is going to be the middle person here. That this person is going to be the number that we're going to take of the average pizza slices eaten. And this is called the median. Now in today's year 6 curriculum, we don't look at the mode and the median, but that's no problem. Feel it's important that we share those, and you will start to look at them in year 7, 8 and 9 as a way of working out the average. But today we're going to look at the mean. Let's move on to the guided practice. So we've got a graph here with the number of children in 3 groups. And what we'd like you to do is use Lulu's method to try and find out how many children are there in each group. Remember that Lulu's method was to add all of these children together and divide by the number of groups that there are. Have 20 seconds or so to see if you can work it out, and I'll go through it shortly. So the total number of children altogether is 18. There are 3 groups, 1, 2 and 3. We divide the 18 children by the number of groups there are, and that equals 6 children. So the average is 6 children per group. We can also say that the mean is 6 children. So let's have another go together at the second question on the guided practice. Again, we've got a different type of graph this time with the number of cupcakes bought. And it says, on average, how many cupcakes did each of the children buy? Total them up, divide by the number of children there are, see if you can work it out, and I'll go through it in around a minute's time. Press pause and have a go. So I'm just going to go through now how we can work this out. Now, if I just take away the blue box here, we know that we've got 14 cupcakes in total, 4 children here. So we divide the 14 cupcakes by the 4 children. I'm going to do a quick reminder of this because it won't be a whole number as the answer. And once again, I'm just going to take the pens here and have a go at reminding you about the short division strategy. So 4 on this side of the bus stop. I'm going to put 14 in here like so, and then start by doing how many 4s go into 1. We know that's 0. So then we have to take the 1 over to here to make 14. How many lots of 4s go into 14? Well, I know that's going to be 3, but then there's also going to be a remainder. So I'm going to have a decimal point here now, put a 0 here, and I've got the remainder as 2. So now I can do how many 4s into 20. I'll put the decimal point over here because we are dividing into the tenths. So 4s into 20 is 5. So each child on average has eaten 3.5 cupcakes. In fact, I won't say that they've eaten them, they've bought them. Okay, so let's go on to our final one for the guided practice. I'll just click onto the arrow here, and the last question for the guided practice has the numbers presented in a slightly different way. I quite like this one because it's a little bit more trickier in terms of the way it's presented. So we've got Amelia here, and she spends a different amount of money on each day. What you've got to do is to use Lulu's method to try and work out on average how much Amelia spent. So to add up the total and divide by the number of days that there are. Like, once again, have a go at this, see if you can work out the answer. It will probably take you 2 or 3 minutes. So let's look at how we work out the answer to this one. Press delete on here, and we can see that in total, Amelia spent £6.40. There were 5 days that we used. We divide £6.40, divide by 5, which will equal £1.28. A couple of ways you could do this. You could divide by 10 and double it. So you could divide by 10, 64p, and then double that to £1.28. Or you could use just our bus stop method that we used previously as another way of working out the answer. So that's our guided practice. What I'd like you to do now is to have a go at the independent learning tasks. I've put onto the website the copy of them, so if you're lucky enough to have a printer, you can print them out, but that isn't necessary. You can just look at the questions on the YouTube clip and then do them from there. Let's go on to them now. Here's the worksheet one for the independent learning. And it just gives us a little bit of advice before we start. It's got Charles here, and Charles uses exactly the same method that we've just looked at that Lulu did, which is to add up the numbers of biscuits here on the plate and divide by the number of plates. So for this one, he added up all of the numbers of biscuits, divided it by 4 plates to get an average of 6. Now what Charles would like you to do is to have a go at the same method for this task here. And it says the number of stars awarded to each group is shown below. It says on average, how many stars does each group receive? Have a go at this question. I'll go through the answer in a couple of minutes' time. Okay, so the answer to this one was 7. Hopefully you got that right. The next question. This bar graph shows the number of pupils on each team. I'm hoping that it's clear to see that this one is 8, this is 9, this is 7, this one here is 6, and this one here is 7. On average, how many pupils are on each team? Have a go at the question. And the answer to this question is 7.4. You can see how it's a little bit more difficult than the previous question. 1, because of the way it was presented on the graph here, and 2, the answer isn't a whole number. Let's go on to the final question. Last question. The graph shows the number of books some children read over 4 weeks. Number of books on this axis, the weeks on here. I'll read out in case it's not clear, and I wouldn't normally do this in the lesson, in case it's not clear on the YouTube clip, the number of books. This one's 6, 10, 9, and 11. On average, how many books did the children read per week? While we're doing this, it reminds me, congratulations Eagle Owls for getting the most number of quizzes and the most number of points on the Accelerated Reader Challenge. I know it's not maths, but I just thought I'd say well done to those children that are reading actively at home. Okay, enough about reading, let's get on with the question. And the answer is 9. Okay, thank you Year 6. Well done for working hard today. And I'll be back on Wednesday with the next lesson. However, before I go, here are the calculations for tomorrow's practice. So we're on to multiplication. Choose questions that you'd like to go through, and on the next slide you'll find the answers. And here are the answers. Hopefully you've managed to get quite a few of them right. If not, have a look to see where your errors are. See you tomorrow. Bye.